This one, this is amazing. This is the one that I read through and I
Oh,
was like, whoa, whoa. Because I want you to unpack this as detailed as you can. Your prophetic encounter from February 28th.
yeah. So on February 28th through the night, I can't say, Kelsey, if I was awake or if I was sleeping, if I was dreaming, if I was awake. And in this place, I was taken into the spirit. And I find myself, I was overlooking a valley, and it was a very rugged forest, mountainous terrain. And I wasn't sure if it was, in Switzerland or if it was in Asia, but here I was. And I was brought to this hidden, secure entry point into this mountain. And so I'm kind of up, kind of almost, I guess, like like in a helicopter. I was above,
like
kind of looking down,
flying above it,
flying
kind of
above,
soaring up above it.
That's right. So I'm here, and right below, I'm looking at this, entry point, this large tunnel. It was very, very old, just with the growth that was around it and the trees and the underbrush. It had been there for a very long time. And it wasn't like it was an active site, like an active base where there was a lot of coming and going, like as there are places that are more active like that. But this was more like an underground storage facility, kind of in the middle of what seemed like nowhere. So I'm watching, and all of a sudden there was a militarized task force that came in, and they were preparing the way for a special high-level official and his team that were coming to basically visit and do kind of an inspection on that place. And so I watched this team came in, and they kind of took formation with a couple of rows, up the side leading into this tunnel opening. And it looked like an honor guard in a sense to those that were coming, these officials that were coming in there. And then
they have like a uniform.
Yes, okay. They were uniformed. These were I'm going to say like a tactical unit, but they're a militarized tactical unit. And so as they were lined up, there was an angelic host that came in and backed them up, basically stood behind these military guys. So they had a high-level assignment to get a very high-level official and his team into this facility to take an inventory and to do an inspection of assets that had been there secretly stored for a very, very long time. Now, they were preparing to see these hidden assets, safely secured and protected and removed, from where it had been hidden for a very long time. In fact, I had the impression that some of this gold and some of these assets that were hidden here had been there for centuries and some for decades.
Wow.
And what had been hidden and kept in darkness was about to be brought into the light and released for the glory of God and his kingdom purposes in the earth. Now, Kelsey, I don't know how I know, but sometimes it's prophetically, sometimes you just know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Was it said, or were you hearing conversations, or did you just have a knowing?
I knew what was in the ground.
Okay.
And so there was, 15 to 20 acres was, kind of the facility space underground. And the majority of it was for mass storage. Now, there was some space for operations and people to kind of oversee that were were there,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority was storage. Now, from there, we were taken into another secure underground entry into this storage facility. Now, these assets,
Mm-hmm.
they were being transferred into the hands of righteous, and this was the beginning of the handover. And the amount of wealth that was being released there, it was staggering. I mean, I can't even, I mean, as far as I could see, I mean, there was racks full of gold and wealth that had been hidden there. And now this team, the integrity and the righteousness was above and beyond, and there was not 1 ounce of greed or evil among them. I mean, they were men and women that God put into position that he could trust. And I mean, he handpicked and prepared each one to carry out this historical event. And then from there, my sense was that they had teams that would then be deployed. And I mean, the security that these, it was only a small handful of these officials that went in. And they were gathered, like they had a security guard, a security detail around them, like the president would. I mean, they were very well protected because of what they were entrusted to.
Wow.
And so they were, to me, it seemed like the first boots on the ground for this actually to be happening. I knew that there was a plan being rolled out, and we were on the front side of it in the first kind of stage for this to happen. I'm down in, this underground, place. And the next thing I'm taken into Wall Street, into the New York Stock Exchange, like just like that. Like it's like watching a movie and you've got a screen.
Yes.
Change.
Wow.
And so
and
here I am.
Where you were.
I knew where I was. I'm right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And, there's traders and they're screaming and yelling, and they've got all these monitors all over, and there's paper all over the floor, and, they're all on their phones and yelling and screaming. And so all of a sudden, I'm right in this room and, watching, this activity, when all of a sudden there was a tipping over that clearly couldn't be stopped. And the markets redlined. And kind of a panic, ensued, and in a bit of chaos. Everyone's, they're trying to do their best to try and cover. And so this was a crash, kind of like nothing we'd seen before. So as this was happening, the traders, they were trying to do their best to try and navigate it, but I mean, it was really escalating. And so what I saw in this was this Babylonian system had hit the wall, and the Lord was bringing it down. So there's nothing to fear. One system was being taken down in order for a new one to be switched on. We are being taken from a system that has been ran and controlled by the kingdom of darkness into a new system, a quantum system that the Lord is breathing on, that is controlled by him in the kingdom of light. And by doing so, this is part of, I believe, protecting the wealth that God is bringing, from, the enemy getting his hands on it, to a distribution to God's people. And so the Father is bringing a distribution and a retribution of wealth back to his people.
Amen.
And, so even in the midst of that kind of going down, I mean, I saw this hope coming in on the other side, like, this is what we've been waiting for. I mean, I was taken in, from this Wall Street, Next thing I know, I mean, I'm in over, in the spirit over North America, and like I'm on a satellite or something. And, I'm looking down and I see, North America, and I see the lights of the cities, and, you can kind of, see definition of, the metropolises. And the next thing I see these little lights starting to go out, here and there. And, and I knew something bigger is going on. And as these little lights were, going out, I saw that there were real conflicts breaking out on the ground, like real conflicts between good and evil. And I mean, part of it felt like war, literally hand to hand, next to hand combat.
Not spiritual. It was
not spiritual.
Okay.
It was like there's a cut over here happening, and it was like the enemy was just dropping his gloves, and not going to let this go easily, because it'll lose control. So things were at a boiling point and boiling over. And as it was going down, I saw these lightnings of God and the Spirit of God hitting cities and regions. And it was, out of this darkness, I saw these lightnings come, and they would just light up an area. And as this was happening, there's angelic armies and hosts being deployed, not only in North America, but other nations. I mean, it really was, it felt like a battle of the ages. And now the enemy had released the hordes of hell to destroy all he could, but without success. He didn't have enough in him to try and stop what the Lord had coming. And the Lord was bringing, it was now payback time. And the Lord of hosts was coming, and he was going to recover all. And it didn't take long before I saw, these brilliant explosions of light, and the light of his glory exploding across not only North America, but around the world. And so places of great darkness were now being immersed in the light of his glory. And so I saw nation after nation refired and rebirthed by and for the glory of God.